Hi, my name is Karen O'Brien. This is Boston in the Burbs. Today I'm going to talk about investment real estate. If you already live in a house that you own and you decide you want to take some cash and invest in income property, here are a couple of tips that will help you make a decision about what kind of neighborhoods, what you should look for, and what the rental market will be like. Stick with me and I'll be right back. Hi, Karen O'Brien. I'm with Stewart St. James in Boston. I am a real estate broker and I have I think this is year 20 real estate experience, and I am also an investment property owner. So I'm here to give you a couple of tips about first-time investment buyers. Number one, find a neighborhood. We're talking about the Boston area, not just Boston. Boston, Brookline, Quincy, Jamaica Plain, which is part of Boston, Allston and Brighton, all part of Boston. These are areas where there's a very strong rental market. Now, there are other towns, usually if you look at city data and look at all the towns around Boston, the lower income towns are the ones where you're going to find more rentals. Probably keep your apartment filled. For instance, say you buy a 2-family house in Boston, anything near any medical center, Jamaica Plain and Brookline for the Longwood Area Medical Center, Brigham and Women's, and that's expanding everywhere, so we'll talk about that in another video. For students, the Allston Brighton area is heavily, infested. Heavily infested with students. They come, they go. Sometimes they ruin apartments. I also want you to know, legally, the only unprotected classes for rental is students and attorneys. You do not have to rent to students or an attorney. So know that in advance. But say you want to be in the Boston area and you can afford to buy something there. So you're going to find something anywhere in these areas that you can rent to young people who are going to stay a couple of years with roommates, whatever. If you want a more mature crowd, I think places like Quincy, easy access to downtown Boston. You have a single family house or a 2-unit building or a 3-unit building, you buy it in Quincy, your tenants can have easy access to the city of Boston and the highway. So that's a good location. Other towns, anything within 1 or 2 towns of Boston with good transportation are good areas to buy rental property. If you want to see what things are renting for, go on rental websites as if you were searching for an apartment. Type in bedrooms, bathrooms, how much you want to pay. See where those apartments are located. Also, I believe you can get numbers. How many listings for the city of Quincy, rentals? How many listings for Jamaica Plain, rentals? How many are available? How many have just been rented? The internet is a great source for information, so don't randomly pick places. And then in those places, you want to find something in your price range, and that's where you're going to focus on. 2 more big tips. Number 1, no, it's actually number 2. So number 2, do you have 30% down? When you buy investment property, the bank is going to require, if you're not living there, 30% down because it is an investment property. So that kind of changes everything. If you are willing to buy a 2 or 3 family and you live in one of the units, that is a huge plus. Number 1, in the city of Boston, you get a tax break. And number 2, you have more control about what's going on in your building because you're there. Number 3, do you mind doing maintenance? If you really want this to work for you, you have to be open and helpful with your tenants. You can't act like they're a pain in the neck. The more communication, the better. For instance, if something's wrong, you need to totally encourage them. Call me anytime, text me anytime. If something blows, a fuse blows, or our lights go out and they don't know how to manipulate the switches to reset it, all these things you should speak with your tenant about. If there's a leak, if the refrigerator stops working, you want them to call you right away. If you can get there, great. If you can't get there right away, ask them to send pictures. Get the communication open so that they will be free to tell you what's really going on. You don't want damage to your property because they're afraid of telling you something's wrong. The faster you fix it, the more they think you're a great landlord. The relationship is great. Very important. And number 4, do you know what the tax rate is for the property you're thinking about? Part of your research should include, and on my website when I talk about taxes, I have a downloadable sheet. Feel free to go onto my website and fill out a little thing and download a PDF. It has all the towns in Eastern Mass and what their property tax is per thousand. So if you buy a house for $499, then it's $499,000. So if the tax rate is $14.10, multiply that by $499. That's your tax rate. Divided by 12, add that to your principal when you're computing what your payments will be. There are many charts online, including bankrate.com, mortgage calculators. Make sure their tax, what they throw in there, is correct, because every town is different. Some towns are super high, like the town of Sharon. It's $20 per thousand. Most other nice suburbs are in the $14 or $15 range. The city of Boston is $10 and change per thousand. The city of Boston, with all the things you get, is very nice for lower taxes, but it's still higher property values. So sometimes it all comes out in the wash, but you need to know your principal, your interest, your taxes, and insurance. Now you may choose to spend $2,000 for a policy and pay that upfront every year, or you may decide to break it into monthly payments and have that automatically deducted. But you know what your costs are. You're going to have water in the sewer and principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Those are your costs. You need a little fund with a minimum of a couple of $100 a month for stuff that happens. A window breaks, could be anything, an appliance breaks down. You need to have a little cash set aside to quickly fix that problem so you're a great landlord and you have great tenants. If you want to know more about investing, contact me below. In the meantime, I hope this helped give you a broad range, and thanks for watching Boston and the Burbs. See you next Wednesday.